Like every normal day in Japan, on a morning train, one passenger starts getting fire out of his mouth. All the other citizens run away except this young guy named Shinra, who smiles instead, and standing there waiting for the fire monster to get closer. But before starting the fight, the fire force comes and asks him to stay away. They manage to destroy the monster perfectly in the presence of a nun that keeps praying. Then due to the flame, a tube light breaks, and before it hurts the nun, Shinra activates his magical powers and runs to save her with a creepy smile on his face and his feet on fire. Sooner after that, he introduces himself as the new member of the Fire Force and a third-generation firefighter. So they take him to the station where they get the necessary training, and he meets the captain Akitaro and Hinawa, and he gets to know them all. The captain asks him after that about the weird smile he makes on his face, so Shinra explains that whenever he feels stressed or excited, his face starts looking like that. Then Hinawa asks him about the purpose behind joining the Fire Force, so he explained that he joined in order to be a hero. Soon after, he meets the two ladies, Iris the nun and Maki, a second-generation firefighter. The nun thanks him again for saving her that day in the train station. After that, the captain calls him for a quick meeting where they discuss the reason behind the unexpected fires. The leader says they must discover why ordinary people start combusting in normal conditions. And he reminds them that it's their duty to keep the public safe from any danger related to fire. At night, when Shinra tries to get some sleep, an alert rings loud. Maki wakes him up and informs him that another fire monster appeared, so they wear their uniforms and run to the fire engine. When the team arrives to the location, other firefighters explain how bad the situation is and that there is a monster inside the building. Shinra sees the flame and recalls how his mother died in the same way, and no one believes that she combusted like all the other human beings. Even his grandmother refused to take him and told people about his weird smile, which is a proof that he lighted the fire in the house and killed his mother and brother. The captain wakes him and orders him to stay focused, and the fight begins. The monster was so fast and they barely can touch him. Shinra activates his powers while thinking about all the bad moments he once lived, and he runs toward the monster and he knocks him down. In the next day, Akataro announces to Shinra the upcoming events where different fire soldiers will represent their team. He will meet the new recruit today and they will represent their station. As the boy goes back to his room, he meets Arthur and they recognize each other. It is obvious that there is an unsolved matter between them and they will talk about it now. On the roof, Mac is showing the nun some fire tricks when the two guys interrupt, planning to fight each other. Arthur introduces himself to the group, and while they get to know each other, Akataro shows up and orders Maki to fight them both in order to make them know the average level of the other competitors that will be present in the event. Iris seems to be worried because she knows Maki is only second-generation soldiers, and she can only control fire unlike the two other guys who can make it and control it at the same time. However, as the fight starts, Maki shows no mercy and attacks Shinra. She throws him off the edge and then starts fighting Arthur on his turn. Shinra flies back to continue the fight, but the girl controls his fire and the fire which Arthur created out of his sword, and she makes one bigger flame, but Akataro turns it off. The captain after that takes the two players and shows them the different tools and weapons they might need in a combat. Suddenly the fire alert rings, so the team rushes to the location, and on their way the captain hands Shinra a weapon and asks all the soldiers to hide their tools under their coat in order to respect the families of the victims. When they arrive to the location, they found another girl's father who turned into a monster. Just 2 years after her mom did. He was sitting calmly on the table waiting for them. Arthur steps toward him and stabs his chest with a sword. The team doesn't expect anything else, but the house seems to collapse. All the soldiers run out except the captain, who decides to save some memories for the girl outside, and he reveals the existence of a third side. Then a strange man appears and seems to have bad intentions. Captain hands the girl a family picture and asks her to be patient, and then they go back to the station, leaving her in tears. Later that night, while the fire soldiers are taking some rest, the man that appeared in the location, whose name's the Joker, talks to Victor, and they see the statistics of different countries and how the fire affected them all badly except Tokyo. He also expresses his love for the substance which was made by Victor. They also made some research about the Company 8, and they collected information about all the fire soldiers. They knew the captain gained a lot of medals, but the government took them back because he went against the orders and he chose to put the human's life first at the Rookie Fire Games. And the next day, the event got started and all different participants from different companies came to show off their skills. Then Shinra sees a soldier from the Company 1 and he remembers the fire which happened 12 years ago. The man was clearly the one who saved him, so he goes on the side to talk to him, but the man keeps walking and asks him to stay focused on the games instead of bothering the others. Right after that, the planners of the Rookies game announced this year's objective, and they inform the participant of the finish line's location. They all start running, but our boy has the advantage as he's the only one who can fly. When he gets into the house, he meets the Joker, who has caused the hurt to two fire soldiers. Shinra decides to attack him, but but the man uses that mysterious substance and he says that he knows what happened in his house 12 years ago. Also, he reveals that his little brother survived from the fire and he's alive. The boy doesn't care too much about what the Joker said and he starts attacking him. The man gets impressed of his powers and then Arthur and Tamaki comes in and start helping Shinra. The Joker says his last word and confirms the existence of many hidden secrets, and if Shinra wants to know them, he must leave the Fire Force and join him to be a devil. He spreads that explosive powder and he disappears. The boy manages saving the 2 crewmen and his 2 teammates and they fly together before the explosion. When they appeared out, the rest of the soldiers save them and some firefighters start turning off the fire in the building. Soon after that, the captain reveals that the 7 other companies might know the secret behind the humans' combustion and he will do his best to figure it out. So Shinra offers his help and promises to help the humanity by saving them from fire. And the next day, everything works perfectly. The citizens are all waiting to know the court's ruling about the firefighter who killed 4 of his teammates. Somehow the court decided to free him after doing the necessary medical test, and it appears that he was mentally unstable. Right after hearing the verdict, the criminal turns into a monster and promises to kill them all. The company 8 heard the alert, but Arthur and Shinra were outside in the city, so Hinoa informs them and they fly to the court where the monster threats the judge and expresses his intentions of killing him. Suddenly the 2 fire soldiers attack him and the teams join the battle after a couple of minutes. The monster reveals his wishes of killing people the same way the fire monsters got killed as a sort of revenge, so he flies to the city. Shinra follows him as he's the only one who can fly, and when he arrives, the monster begs to get a chance at least to die while the nun prays for him. The boy accepted to wait for the rest of the team to come, but he keeps an eye on the monster, and as it was expected, he started attacking. But Shinra cut off his arm, and when he's about to kill him, the leader of the 5th company, the Princess Hibana, arrives and decides to take the matter in charge. Shinra tries to stop her, but she controls him and makes him fall down, and decides to take the monster even when the 8th company is supposed to take it. When the team arrives, the captain asks the princess for more details about why she wants to take the monster alive, and she answers by the necessity of discovering the secret behind the combustion, and that she will share the results of her test, so they just let her go, even when they still think she has bad intentions. The nun recalls the old days when she was a kid and studied with the Princess Hibana. She starts crying and Shinra noticed that by coincidence. On the other side, the princess tortures the monster and forces him to say all what he knows about how and why to get people transformed to monsters. Later this day, Shinra thinks about why the nun Eris was crying and he realizes that she hides a very important secret, so he asks Arthur if he knows anything. But before he says a word, Mika opens the door and tells the 2 boys that Eris disappeared. She wanted to talk to the princess, but Hibana treats her in a very bad way and disrespected her in front of all the soldiers of the 5th company. Eris tries to convince her to stop being selfish because they didn't learn to be like that when they used to study together. The princess ignores what she says and she cuts her clothes off. She also confesses that she will use her as a bite and attract the other members of the 8th company in order to kill them all. Suddenly Shinra arrives and angrily promises to save his friend and to destroy the 5th company. The rest of the company arrives in seconds and they start killing the guards in the gates with no mercy. Then they decide to split. Arthur, after running inside, finds himself in front of an old short man who promises to kill him, while Hinoa and Mika face another soldier who hits them with bubble explosive guns. So Hinoa controls the fire shots and hits him back. That's why 3 other female soldiers come to fight as well. Back to Arthur, who realizes the 5th company used the monster and developed his skills to stand on their side while they were supposed to kill him, but he manages doing that using his sword. Hinoa and Mika also win the fight against the 3 other soldiers, and Shinra arrives to the castle where Eris is, and he prepares himself to attack furiously. Hibana was waiting for the boy to come, and she asks Eris to watch how she's going to kill her teammate. Sooner after, the boy enters the room where the princess is with the hostage, but as he makes 2 steps, she controls him using his superpowers and makes him fall down just like she did the day when she took the monster. But this time, the boy resists and stands on his feet. Hibana gets shocked, but when he attacks her, she hits him and shows another level of powers. Eris tried to remind her how they spent their childhood working and protecting the others, but she doesn't listen and keeps attacking Shinra. Then the boy somehow resists her huge attack and doesn't move back and hits her badly. Hibana passes out and remembers the old days and all what happened to her in the church. After a couple of minutes, she wakes up and uses her superpowers to create a beautiful artwork for Eris. The leaders of the 2 companies organized a dinner for their soldiers. At the end, the princess promised the captain Akitaru to offer her help and to give him all the research she did to figure out the secret behind the combustion. Then they start investigating the 1st company by sending Arthur and Shinra to spy on them, pretending to be new soldiers. Mika and 2 other guys from the 5th company are sent also. As they get into the company, they meet the Captain Burns, who explains the rules to them. Suddenly Shinra invites him for a fight, and if he wins, he will ask for something bigger. The captain accepts. As the fight begins, Arthur starts attacking first with his sword, but the captain can easily stop him. Then Shinra attacks angrily, but the captain asks him to know why he's doing so much efforts. The boy answers that he wants to be a hero. Bro stopped him easily and gives them an advice to work harder as they want to discover the secret of the human combustion is way too long than what they think. On the other side in the station, the princess and the captain Akitaro discuss the result of the chemical research and they realize the presence of an insect DNA in all burned bodies. In the next day, Shinra and Arthur are having their breakfast with all the other soldiers of the first company when suddenly the alert rings loud. The team rushes to the location and they find 5 fire monsters. Karim asks the soldiers of the 8th company to stand aside while the others control the monsters. And while they stand in the street, Shinra sees a hand of a guy who puts an insect on the back of a normal citizen, which turns him to a fire monster. The two friends rush to see who that person was, but they find 3 of the first company's soldiers, so they just go back as they didn't recognize any of them. The two boys decide to take the risk and to sneak into Karim Flame's room. As they start looking for any evidence, they find the same insect they saw before. Then Karim enters the room and explains that he left it there on purpose. He says that he's also looking for the one who does these criminal things. On the other side, Tamaki collects a group of kids and brings them to Rika, the second suspect after Karim. He says that he will show them a trick that will protect him from fire and asks Tamaki to leave him alone in order to focus on the trick. The girl hides right in the corner while Rika injects the insect in the mother's body first. She doesn't resist, so he kills her and takes another boy. He does the same thing, but Tamaki interrupts and begs him to stop torturing them. The small kid at first stopped becoming a fire monster, but suddenly nothing happens to him. And before taking another victim, Rika beats Tamaki and asks her to shut up. Also, he plans to kill her and make it look like a suicide. The girl finds herself too weak and can't even protect herself, so she just screams, and luckily, Shinra, who was on the sky trying to find the suspects, heard her screaming and saw the fire coming out of the building, so he rushes to save her. He beats Rika with all his powers.